3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running.
Whether you've been married 1 or 20 plus years, at some point, you realized you were married into crazy.
And that's what our podcast is all about. We offer love, laughter, and a dose of reality as we unpack this crazy thing called marriage.
So sit back, relax, and get your ear hustle on. It's time to start the conversation.
All right, let's go.
Welcome to another episode of the Married into Crazy podcast with Snooks and Lovey. I'm Lovey.
I'm Snooks.
And as always, we're very thankful of you coming to share time with us, whether it's during your commute, gardening, working out, just chilling, whatever it may be. But, you know, you have a lot of choices, and we're just always thankful that you're hanging out with us. One married couple or prospective individual that is getting married to another married couple.
I was like, where are you going with this? Okay.
No, we always talk
I
about.
see.
Okay. See, this is always supposed to be about, you know, being a fly on the wall. You know, this is tonight's just going to be a conversation between a married couple, talking about some things. No, there is an agenda, but
not things though.
Not things.
No, we might talk about some things.
All right. Well, before we get started,
okay,
I want to ask everybody to please go wherever you are listening to this podcast. If you're on Apple Podcasts, please leave a review and a rating. As Snooks always says,
put 5 on it.
It's funny. This is an audio podcast. Now there is a video component, but she holds up her hand like 5.
My hand up. This is for the people on YouTube.
Okay.
5.
Don't be leaving out the fam that's just out there in the car listening now.
Okay, fam. 5.
Yeah. So please go out there at Apple Podcasts and leave a review. Mm-hmm. So
I thought you was going to say something.
No, I was waiting for you to start.
Oh, no. I mean, that's it. Just leave a review.
No, look,
hey, tell them where else we are.
It's getting off to a rough start.
Okay, I'm like, what are you doing, dude?
I'm gonna have to drag her along on this one. No, but the other thing that she's probably alluding to is that another ask, if you will, is for everyone to go over to marriedintocrazy.com. We want you to go there and actually click on the coaching tab. And if you feel compelled to hang out with us just a little bit more intimate, it would be a couple and ourselves to discover and talk about whether or not we're a good fit when it comes to coaching. No matter where you're at in your relationship right now. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter if you're a newlywed, if you're premarital, if you've been married 5 minutes, 5 years, 15 years, 25, 30, 35, 40. Doesn't matter how long you've been married. We're saying if there's some challenges, if you want to go from where you're at to the next level, mm-hmm. from average to good, from good to great, from great to phenomenal, hit us up. Let's talk. The discovery call is absolutely free. You're a nut.
It's free. It's like 30 minutes. And like Lovey was saying, you can decide if we're a good fit. If you like us, we can decide if we like you.
Yep. But get in there. The calendar's filling up. We've got several this week and quite a few more coming up. And we want to make sure that we make room for you. We always talk about making room for your gift. Well, I want to say that marriage is a gift from God. And so we want to make room for you. So please go ahead and get on that calendar before it gets completely full.
Yup.
Look, let me give you a quick.
Okay, so
I didn't know if you were going to talk. You going to jump in?
Oh, no, you're not. Anyway, do you realize that it is the last week of September in 2021? This year is like flown by. It's kind of crazy.
I know. It's weird. It's like, I feel like they say that life imitates art. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy because we love Marvel movies.
Yeah.
And specifically when you're looking at, you know, the Marvel franchise, the MCU, and it's like Thanos snapped his fingers.
Wow. Yeah. Seriously though, right?
About a year and a half or so ago. And we're now all just coming back. It's like he snapped his fingers. We all disappeared. And now everybody's returning.
And it's funny you even bring that up because on Saturday we had end of the season barbecue at our house, and it was just family, and family is just super excited about getting together. So we didn't have like a ton of people over here,
No.
but we had a good amount of people where everyone was able to be spread out. Basically, most of our family, they're vaccinated anyway. We
Mm,
had, yes, they are.
I was going to say that
There's
the
two.
backyard was divided.
It was funny
There
that
was the 100% vaccinated. We positive we all vaccinated. And then there was the younger crowd was like, they might be vaccinated,
like
but
so
we don't trust what they telling us.
they was over there by the garbage cans.
Yes, they were.
That's like funny. But no, even in that, there was like 4 of them that were actually vaccinated over there, but they had masks on. We was like, y'all not finna get sick over our house, okay? So everyone was masked up. They did practice social distancing, and usually how we have the food set up, we had it. Everything was just very strategically placed. So we had a good time just being able to be with family, and I was grateful for that.
It was good, and when you get like third generation of cousins, the little ones, our grandkids were able to hang with Damien's grandkids, and it's just like the cousins' grandkids. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was a good time.
We had a jumper. The kids were out there. Even little Isaiah, our little miracle, was out there bullying and terrorizing everybody.
Being nice.
He's walking up. He was like Debo.
Take himself.
Zay was just walking up to him, give me that hot dog, fool.
Where my Holly got food?
He was just snatching food off people's plates.
I was like,
and then walking off like it was no big deal.
Yeah, and the kids were letting him do it, and I was like, oh, no, that is not yours. And then he's learning how to speak. Yeah, I want to say try to argue his point. Gigi don't play that. I'm like, no, little man. I said, we are not doing that. So everyone just got a big old kick out of him because he's still, like Lovey said, our little miracle.
He just be trying to communicate. I mean, it's funny. He's 2, and I know he should be saying more than what he is. But as you guys all know, for those of you that have been our day ones, you know that when Isaiah was born, he was a micro preemie and had a series of brain hemorrhages. Almost didn't survive. Actually did flatline, and they revived him, and he fought through all of that. He was 2.5 pounds when he was born. And as a result of all that hemorrhaging that took place, you don't really know what the developmental challenges might be. But one of them is his speech. So he has like a speech therapist that he works with. But it's funny, he don't know it. He swears he's speaking the Queen's English. He's out there, you tell him like, don't do that. He's just going on.
Right. And I'm like, I don't care what they said. I said no.
But it's crazy because I guess, other kids do this as well. But you sit there and you just talk to him like he'll sit there and make the sounds. I'm like, I said no. But it's like the emphasis he places on
certain things.
I'm like, I think he's cussing me out.
Yeah, totally understood everything he said. And he has rolling his eyes down. I said, boy, you rolling my eyes at me one more time.
You too, but you can get punched.
Because I fight babies. But no, we really, really, really had a good time. And you should put that video up of him. So after everyone left, I gave him a bath and everything. And he was fussy. I knew it was because he was tired. I was like, go see Papa. And Lovey has a video of him sitting on the couch. And when you're nodding your head off, he was doing that. He couldn't keep his head up. It was so funny. We should put that video up.
Yeah, I need to do that. I need to do like an I am Dulo and put some
that's what you said.
Some sound effects to it.
Yeah, it's funny. Anyway, so yeah, just wanted to share that. It's always good. I hope that everyone is able to enjoy their family and just be able to spend some time, because this year has been very challenging for a number of people, regarding some people health. They have family members that have passed away. They've been sick, loss of job. Some people loss of where they're staying. We just had the big giant fire out in California. And,
there's a lot of stuff that's going on. And here's the thing. It's like, as much as we're fatigued and we don't want to do the extra, go the extra mile because I'm just tired of it. I'm over it. That's the thing you hear everybody saying. I'm over it. I'm over the masks. I'm over the pandemic. I'm over this. Well, you may be over it, but it's not over. So don't try and get away with the bare minimum. Look, I know people out there talking about, I'm going to go ahead and get me an exemption because a lot of workplaces now are requiring that in order to return to work or stay at work or maintain your employment, a lot of places, I know some hospitals, quite a few hospital systems, and a lot of employers across the United States, large and small, are saying that they have to be vaccinated, show proof of vaccination. But some people are saying, oh, you know what? I need a religious exemption, or, I'm going to get a medical exemption. Medical exemptions I get, but at no point did Jesus say, or any of these religious leaders say, I think you should use me in order to make sure that you don't got to do what you're supposed to do for the benefit of your neighbor. My commandment was love your neighbor as yourself, which means take care of them, not try and do the bare minimum and get over.
That's funny that you say that about the bare minimum, because I'm going to bring up about Chicago Fire.
Oh my goodness. This is her show.
This is my show. So I watch it. Well, I hadn't been watching it in a while, but I actually got caught up on a couple on the seasons. And there was an episode where there was a fire in a mattress house. I'm not a mattress.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
A mattress warehouse. And they were like, okay, these mattresses shouldn't caught on fire like this, blah, blah, whatever. So when they lost the firefighter, Otis passed away. They lost the firefighter. And so when they were like looking at what the material was that was inside of the mattress, it is something that was like illegal, or it's not supposed to be in there because it's very flammable. So they went to the manufacturer and they were told the manufacturer, hey, you can't have this, you shouldn't have this inside of this, blah, 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 because of the way that the smoke, or not the smoke, but the way that the flames catch, and it's very dangerous. And the comments from the manufacturer were, well, we're very clear, we're very sure that we only put in X amount. So we put in what the minimal amount that we can put in. We meet specs, we meet guidelines. So we're not over, we're not wrong basically in how we're making this product. So they bought a mattress. I'm sorry, they bought a couch that was filled with this stuff that was flammable to the manufacturers, lit it on fire. And I guess the CEO, when he saw that, because he was like, this should, basically shouldn't happen, whatever. But he was very taken aback, like, what in the heck, not understanding that even though he met quota, even though
doing the bare minimum,
he was like, well, we only, the bare minimum, like you said, put this amount in. It's like he didn't understand even putting that small amount in, how it just destroyed, people lost homes, lives were lost, people were hurt. And while watching the show, it just made me start thinking about bare minimum. It's like, how many of us actually use that line? Maybe not in those words verbatim, but because you're doing the bare minimum and you're considering that I'm doing my part. I did enough.
I see where you're going.
But yeah, you did your part, quote unquote, but you gave the bare minimum, and you're applauding yourself for giving the bare minimum. Well, at least I did, blah, 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 whatever it may be, how many people are in relationships and that's the mindset, well, I did it. It's bare minimum. And you're not, and over time, you're not realizing, maybe they're not realizing, I'm gonna, in my good thoughts, think that they don't do it with the intent of, number one, I don't care. But I think it's more of in their ignorance. They're not thinking of the danger that comes from just giving the bare minimum. Because over time, just bare minimum, it's going to become flammable. How lives are going to be destroyed, something's going to catch on fire, whatever.
Oh, for real.
And at what cost are you willing to just continue to do that?
My mind is racing right now because there's so many different ways we can go with this.
Okay, you tell me which way you want to go.
No, it was just, well, I don't know if anybody out there is thinking this, but you're thinking, well, as long as you're meeting the requirements. And that's a dangerous thought process, because particularly when it comes to our relationships, specifically our marriages, because if you do the bare minimum consistently, somebody out there is going to look to exceed the bare minimum. They're going to look to exceed the expectations of your spouse when you're only trying to meet the bare minimum needs of your spouse.
They're going to be like Sherelle. They get everything they miss at home.
They're going to be just like that. Well, I mean, consider this. When you're doing scientific measurements, there's always a plus and minus, meaning that, it can be this number plus or minus, there's a range.
Oh God, are we doing math?
No, we're not going to do any math.
Okay.
But I'm just saying that it can be plus or minus. You don't have to, it's not an exact, that's why they say it's not an exact science, because you have this variance. It's called variance, that it can be plus or minus whatever is going to go into this, right? Oh, well, you can add this, and it can be within plus or minus this much of a measurement or what have you that's off. Your marriage can't be plus or minus. There shouldn't be too much variance when it comes to it. Look, bare minimum, and unfortunately it seems to happen quite often because we've known people like this, that they felt like the most that they could possibly do, and they did somebody a favor by showing up on a particular day and saying, I do.
Well, that's funny you say that, because that does seem kind of to be the attitude of some people. Well, we got married. Well, I showed up. Well, I came, okay. And then what?
Right. I put food on. Do you love me? Well, I put clothes on your back. I put food on the table. But do you love me? Get out of here.
Yeah.
And it's the bare, and sometimes it grows into that bare minimum. But the challenge with that is that doesn't mean it's healthy. It's not healthy for the individuals. It's not healthy. But there's a handbook out there that the U.S. government follows when it comes to how much like rat feces and bugs can be in your food. Mm-hmm. It's not illegal. So like there's this one thing I'm looking at right now that says, what is the acceptable amount of rat feces in food? The handbook allows up to 13 fragments. So oddly enough, it does not say what a fragment is.
Where like, okay, what's a fragment?
I'm like, well, yeah, exactly. What's a fragment? Is that a toe? Is that a whole leg? What is a fragment?
That's nasty.
But like, we don't even want a toe in there, but it says the handbook allows for up to 13 fragments of rodent excreta, which is excretions, and a 24-ounce container.
Yeah, and there's
think about that. 24-ounce container, but you can have 13 fragments, whatever that may be.
And it might be small, but I don't want that small part. I don't want to eat that part of it. I want it on mine.
Look, okay, so have you ever, like tonight, you made what for dinner?
Some chili.
And what did you put in the chili? I mean, well, let me get specific. Did you use tomatoes?
Yes.
Fresh tomatoes?
Stewed.
Stewed. In a bag?
In a can.
In a can. The government permits 3 maggots in your 28-ounce can of tomatoes.
It was 28 ounces.
In a regular size 16-ounce jar of peanut butter, the FDA will allow up to 136. I said
insect.
136 insect fragments and 4 rodent hairs. And we still don't know what a fragment is. Need to figure that out. But the reason why I share that with you is because it meets the standards. Mm-hmm. It meets the bare minimum. What is the standard by which you're living your marriage? Are you saying, you know what, we're married, I'm meeting the standards, I show up, I kiss her, I kiss the kids, I go to work, I pay the bills, I come home, every now and then, she gets that vitamin D. And
wow, is that what we're calling it?
And listen, this is a PG rated show.
Okay.
And but that's the bare minimum. Meanwhile, emotional needs aren't being met. Physical needs probably aren't being met. But there's that brother at the job. Hey girl, how you doing? You all right? You just something seems to be on your mind.
You need lunch.
You look hungry, like you haven't eaten in a while. No,
Yeah, I'm gonna go get you something to
let me
eat.
get you something to eat. Let's just talk.
Okay,
You
but,
talk, I'll listen. So all this stuff will go on, and some needs are being met. They're
but
going beyond. Okay, go ahead.
okay, so but here's the other part of that too. I think so, like you said about the whole fragments or whatever, there's a handbook, right? And there's specific instructions on how much can be here, how much of this can be there, how much. I think one of the issues is that where's the handbook at for what the bare minimums can be or should be in a relationship? What is acceptable? What is not acceptable? Have we set our guidelines? Have we said this is what I want and stuck to that? A lot of times everything is so, I won't say everything, but there are so many times where lines get blurred, ambiguity plays in. I'm not very good with ambiguity. I lose it when it comes to ambiguity. I need to know exact everything.
Oh, snap. You didn't tell me that.
Well, we figured it out though, right?
Oh, well, I'm still figuring out apparently. I guess I'm making some notes.
Please make them.
I am writing a book right now.
Ambiguity. I'll spell it for you.
No, I'm sounding out.
But
Big.
But therein that could be one of the challenges that when you talk about bare minimum, well, I did do this or I do this or blah, blah, blah. Where's the conversation? Are we talking? Is there communication about what I want, what I need, what you want, what you need? Where are we doing that? Are we setting standards? Are we setting guidelines? Are we talking about what makes me happy? So I don't ever want to be in a place where you come to me and you're like, I'm not happy with blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, shoot, what you mean you ain't happy? I cook dinner, I wash clothes, and for that's bare minimum. But I love he gets mad at me because I look at him when I talk and I don't talk in the microphone. I'm starting to act like I'm singing solo and I'll just hold the microphone.
Come on, girl, sing your solo.
Can I do that? Okay. But see, you made me lose what I was finna say.
About doing the bare minimum
but okay, so if you come to me and you say
right
this, that, whatever, and you're unhappy or you don't like, but if we've never sat down and said, this is what I want, these are what my needs are. Yeah. And you ask the question, okay, so what are your expectations? I asked the question. I know some people are like, oh, you should never have expectations. Well, I feel like you should have expectations and sometimes those expectations change. That's where the check-in comes in, which we do.
We do.
And so now okay, so you used to like, so now you don't like that no more. Got you.
What's her name?
But you know what I'm saying?
No, I hear you. No, and it's
we could fall into that whole trap of, like you said, you're doing the bare minimum. I'm doing the bare minimum. I'm doing just enough to get by to where I can say I did it.
And unfortunately it shows up in so many different areas of our lives. It's like, oh, can you give me a foot rub?
Oh my gosh, we're not even gonna.
There's your rub.
Yeah, can you rub my back for me? And you rub one spot.
No,
I'm not saying you, babe. Stop getting all sensitive. Love you getting sensitive on the podcast.
Butterscotch about to come out.
Be like, I'm saying, like you ask your partner, can you give me a back rub? And they do the little.
Okay, let's step on some toes. If you're wearing flip-flops, if you're wearing some open-toe sandals, if you're walking around barefoot, you're about to get your toe stepped on. Because it's all those things. I guarantee that everybody hearing my voice, our voice right now, has done that at some point where it's like you do the bare minimum. And we're not just talking about giving bare minimum love. We're talking about giving of yourself bare minimum, meaning she was talking about a rub on the shoulder or on the back. Give me a back rub. Something's hurting. It's ailing me. There's times where you go ham, right? But there's other times where you're like, I don't feel like doing this.
I do not want to do this.
And it's like, I don't want to rub your feet. I don't want to rub your back. Can you do this for me? Can you do that for me? And we're not there. We're doing it begrudgingly. Are you begrudgingly married?
Mm.
Because that's when it shows up. That's when the bare minimum shows up more times than not. When it's something that some action you're taking begrudgingly against, you're doing it. So you're doing it willfully, but it's almost like it's under duress. Like, I really don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it because I don't feel like hearing this person's mouth. Are you doing this sexually? When you are supposed to be passionate and making love, and I get that you're tired. Trust me, we're not perfect. We are married. And we've been married almost 25 years. There's times when I feel like it, she don't. There's times when she feels like it, I don't. There's times when neither of us feel like it.
And we don't.
And we don't. But there are times where it's like, okay, well, you know what? Let me just, whatever. Let me just go on. And you can tell because the energy's off, the connection is off. But what that does is that removes, let me just put it this way. You spent all this time building your home, building your house. I'm not talking about the physical thing you live in.
Mm.
I'm talking about that house that you've built brick by brick, painstakingly. And then every time we do this bare minimum crap, and we're all guilty of it, but when we do the bare minimum, we're removing a brick from that home. You laughing?
I'm just thinking about the Three Little Pigs, the bare minimum. The first one.
We use this a lot.
Who was that? He built a
house of straw.
And the big bad wolf came. His brother told him, why you building? Take the time, build it right. He's like, I'm building this. And he wanted to go play or do whatever. Yep. Big bad wolf came, blew his house down. Then the second brother, who was his? Wood. Same situation. Build it right. Take the time. I don't got to do all that. It's a roof. It's shelter. Whatever.
Didn't reinforce it. Did the bare minimum.
Did the bare minimum because he wanted to go out and play. Big bad wolf came, blew his house down. So now here they go banging on their big brother's door, who built his house of brick. He took the time, he set the foundation, and he built the house that cannot be blown down. Don't do the bare minimum. Don't do the bare minimum.
It's so funny that we keep referring back to that Three Little Pig story.
That just made me think about that when you said house.
I know, I think it was like 2-3 episodes ago that we referred. So if you want to hear like go back to, it's one of our earliest episodes. It's called Huff and Puff. Go back, and I don't remember what number it is, but go back and take a listen to that one. It lays the foundation for some of this conversation as well, particularly that analogy that Snooks is using. But what bare minimum are you guilty of? And this isn't being accusatory. This is about being introspective and figuring out, how do we get better? Again, we talked about reaching out to us at mediocrity.com so we can do a discovery call to see how we can help you go from average to good, from good to great, from great to phenomenal. We're in the process of doing that as well. We've just had more experience than some, maybe not as much in years for others, but experiential, the stuff that we've gone through and the challenges that we've been able to overcome together and other people have helped us through. All we really want to do is share that with you. But it's one of those things where you have to ask yourself, am I willing, do I really want this thing? Do I really want this marriage? Because here's the funny thing. As easy as it sounds, and I'm not trying to belittle anything that anybody's going through, but we generally get to keep what we want in life. The things that are easily discarded are the things that we didn't really care about or we didn't really want to begin with, or it no longer applied. You will fight for the things that you want. And we just want you to fight for your marriage. And the easiest thing you can do in that respect is not doing the bare minimum.
Right. Because what we always say, you're going to pay the price. Either you pay the price at the beginning or you pay it on the back end. I would rather pay the price in the beginning because the back end is going to be a lot more painful. You're talking about the back end is 10 years into a marriage or a relationship, and 7 of those years have been filled with bitterness or, resentment and that kind of thing because we did the bare minimum or we weren't invested. We didn't want to take the time to do the things that our partner, our spouse wanted to do. And so now you've been together for all these months, you have longevity, but what type of quality do you have? So don't do just the bare minimum. Pay the price up front so that you can pay that price that you pay in the end. That's the, what is that, interest, in
It's
compounding
compounded.
interest.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's how you want to do that. Make sure. I look, I'm trying to use some analogies. I'm like, I think that's what it is.
No, that's, I mean, that's, listen, that is good. And look, and you're asking, you know what? Well, I don't know, maybe the people I hang out with, the people that I surround myself with aren't, or the environment that I run in, or you just don't understand what I go through, and I don't get that support at home. And maybe it's not about what you don't get at home. I'm curious as to what do you give at home?
Hmm.
We're so caught up in what we get. What am I going to get out of this? Right? It's the with them that they talk about in sales so often. What's in it for me? That's what it stands for, with them.
I was like, I was
WIFM.
going in my head because I was like, okay, what's in
So
it for me?
what's in it for me? That's called the with them. And too often we do that in our marriages. Instead of what's in it? Look, I'll tell you what's in it for you. Happiness, peace, joy, love, respect, trust. There's so many things that are in it for you, but it doesn't begin by you taking it. It begins with you giving. So all those things that I mentioned, you give the bare minimum, guess what you're going to receive? The law of reciprocation kicks in, and you will receive the bare minimum.
Mm-hmm.
Minimum trust, minimum love, minimum peace, minimum joy. Give freely.
Mm-hmm. Just doing enough to, because you got married and you changed your last name and you wear the ring and you bought the house and you have the car or whatever, and you call that family, but it's not really. It's very surface family.
We've said it here before, and we say it ad nauseum to our children. Good enough rarely is. And one of the greatest places that phrase can, or that I don't know if you call it a phrase, whatever, that cliche, it could be applied to your marriage. Good enough rarely is.
Most definitely. I think that's a great point, because I feel like that no one ever thinks about, my words, no one ever thinks about your marriage or their marriage when they say good enough rarely is. We're talking about presentations. We're talking about how we turn our homework in. We're talking about whatever it is that,
Right.
the duty is that we're doing. And we're not focusing on the most important relationship that we'll have, which is the one with our spouse. And I say it's the most important relationship because for me, from that relationship, I'm showing my girls, I'm showing my son, we're showing our grandkids that type of what love looks like in a relationship. And I'm not, please don't get me wrong for those that are single, because someone told me, our neighbor told me, I am single and I want for naught and I'm doing it well. I'm very content. So
she's doing it well. I don't want this to sound like we're chastising, because we aren't.
It's just about, so never, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but it's never about chastising, because sometimes we need to hear certain
truth.
things. Yeah, because we're not always aware of our blind spots until it's pointed out. And even if no one is directly pointing it out, you can still be like, oh, I know I've heard stuff that other people have said before. I'm like, oh, I do that. Oh, blah, 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 whatever. And it makes me take a second look like, okay, I'm going to fix that. And then I'll fix it and let it be like, oh, okay. When he recognizes it.
I sound like a little backhand dig right there. Well, I will say, if your name is Lovey and you live in this house, there's a lot of blind spots. There's so much. Look, my daughters have got, I think, a list, a running tally of the things that I screw up or that I did wrong or what have you. And so we have those blind spots, and we're not making fun of this or making light of it, but it's just because you do these things and they're done willfully, sometimes they're done ignorantly. And ignorant, not meaning like nothing negative. It's not the negative connotation of ignorance where it's like, oh, you ignorant fool. No, It's that ignorance. Like, I just didn't know. I didn't realize I fell into a rut.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize it was just, I was so used to doing the same thing over and over and over again that it just got to the point where it went from doing it with zeal. Because don't forget that Z is, in the word crazy, is zealousness, being zealous for your marriage, having that enthusiasm, that joy. And we steal it from ourselves.
Hmm.
It doesn't take anybody to come steal. Your woman wasn't stole. Your man wasn't stole. Sometimes we gave away the thing that's most important to us because we lost that zeal. We didn't like you, and you enjoyed me being around. So it's just, we need to call these things out so that way, like you said, you bring awareness back to it. You bring it to the top of mind. And that's all we try and do on a weekly basis. If you want to be in the presence of mind where you're keeping things at the forefront, you're trying to be crazy, compassionate, real, accountable, zealous, and yielding. In order to do that on a daily basis, we're going to invite you right now to join our free, it's absolutely free. We have a Facebook group. It's called Iron Tribe, the marriage community. And it's a lot of married couples that come together, and we offer up a lot of information, and we're looking forward to, getting more. There's interaction there. Sometimes we share things from the Gottman Institute. We share things from some of the teaching, some of our education when it comes to working with couples. We show some of the resources that we utilize in our marriage coaching business. There's things that we do that we share. And of course, it's just us being us. There's a lot of corniness. It's a little bit more intimate because we share things. I'm the corny one. She's not.
You saw me frown.
I had to correct myself.
Please.
And no, and that's just what we do. So go on Facebook and look up Iron Tribe, the marriage community, and join. Come into the community, because we're going to start doing some things here in the near future that we think is going to be a lot of fun. And hopefully everyone participates, or a lot of people participate. Mm-hmm. Some of the presentations that we've done for other groups. If you don't know, I'm just going to share that I belong to another group as well, where I happen to be a moderator for a very large group that deals specifically with marriages. It's not that I'm not employed by them or like that. It's purely volunteer. But Snooks and I, we help out another group, and we do some presentations on some of these other areas that we created that really, that we utilize in Married into Crazy, but we'll repurpose it. So some of those things that we even use with our coaching, we're going to start doing some live presentations, if you will, within the group only. So definitely go ahead and join. But beyond that, it gives you the opportunity to be in a tribe, an iron tribe, because just like the scripture says, just as iron sharpens iron, man should sharpen the countenance of his neighbor. Well, we say the same thing to a certain extent, where it's like, just as iron sharpens iron, we as couples should sharpen each other. Mm-hmm. And this is a way that you do that, by sharpening each other. Sometimes we call each other out on our own BS. If I see, and I've done this, and I've had it done to me, where people are like, hey, bro, I didn't like the way you said that to Snooks.
Good. Did y'all not like the way he not made the bed too? No.
And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like, no, you were kind of short. I'm like, oh, I didn't think I was. Okay, you know what? Then I'll go back and ask Snooks, hey, because we do check-ins all the time. It's like, hey, was I short? And she'll be like, yes, you were.
I don't see it like that.
She'll call me out in a heartbeat. But that's that iron sharpening iron, right? Because wood can't sharpen iron. Clay can't sharpen iron. It's iron sharpening iron. Mm-hmm. And that's why we as couples should come together and do this. And we provide Iron Tribe, the marriage community, as a venue, an opportunity for you to do that as well. So we're not going to keep this going on. I think you get the gist of it. And what it really comes down to is good enough rarely is. And let me give you a few more reasons as we part. The U.S. food law allows traces of rodents. These aren't even talking about parts. We're not even talking about fragments at this point. It says U.S. food law allows traces of rodent in a variety of foods. For example, producers are allowed up to 11 rodent hairs per 25 grams of paprika and cinnamon. So you thought, we're like, oh, I don't eat tomatoes, so I'm safe. Oh, I don't eat peanut butter, I'm safe. if you use cinnamon and paprika, you might be ingesting up to 11 rodent hairs. Or a lot of people are like, I'm going vegan.
Paprika, babe.
Is paprika? What did I say?
Paprika.
Paprika? I used to go to school with a girl named no. Paprika. What you doing over there, girl? There's
someone maybe named Paprika. So I'm just
my
saying.
bad. I'm so sorry. We're just having fun. I'm so sorry. Now you got me laughing. You can have 4.5 hairs per 225 grams of noodles and 4 hairs per 25 grams of curry powder. So that's just nasty.
Okay, can you not?
Oh, no, I feel like reading a few more of these. Here's the bare minimum. Rodent poop, fennel seeds, ginger, and mace can all contain up to an average of 3 milligrams of mammal poop per pound. Does peanut butter have rat poop in it? It's rare, but peanut butter is one of the most controlled foods in the FDA list. An average of 1 or more rodent hairs and 30 or so insect fragments are allowed for every 100 grams, which is 3.5 ounces. And okay, I'll stop.
No, you don't want to talk about your favorite thing? Chocolate?
Oh, is there rat poop in chocolate?
Chocolate can contain insect fragments and rodent hairs or worse. If you're eating a regular sized chocolate bar, it might legally contain 30 or more insect parts and some of rodent hair.
That's just protein.
Oh, now it's protein.
That's just protein.
Okay?
If it's in my chocolate, it's considered protein. And I didn't have to pay extra for it. Anyway, I'm sorry, but that's about the bare minimum. Look, we don't want there to be rat poop in your marriage. We don't want there to be rodent fragments in your marriage, in your relationship. So don't do the bare minimum. Exceed standards. Exceed the expectations of your spouse. Exceed your expectations of what you grew up with. And you might have had a great example. I didn't. Snooks didn't. Not talking about the character of the individuals, our parents.
I'm just talking about the examples of a happily thriving marriage.
Right? So there was rat poop in those marriages. No. We're having fun. Hey, I hope you're having a good time as well. Do us a huge favor, please. Share the podcast.
Stop.
Tell 3, 4, 5, 20 people about the podcast. And go over to not just Facebook and join Iron Tribe, the marriage community, but go over to Facebook and join Married Into Crazy. I've got this thing. By the end of the year, I would love to see Married Into Crazy to get over 1,000 likes, somewhere in the neighborhood of like 915, 918, something like that. You know, I'd like to get at least 85 more people to follow. So please, if you haven't already, go ahead and follow Married Into Crazy on Facebook. And while you're doing that, feel free to join Iron Tribe, the marriage community. That way we can kind of keep the conversation going. We can keep you included when we're doing some of the exclusive things that we're going to be doing for our members over at Iron Tribe. But until the next time,
be blessed.
Bye.